Hey, what's going on everybody? Jason here, and welcome back to another Black Ops 6 video. Today I'll be talking about the Black Ops 6 beta and what I thought about it. The Black Ops 6 beta was active for 2 weeks. Last week was the early access beta for the people who pre-ordered the game, and this previous weekend the Black Ops 6 beta went open to the public for everybody. For starters, I thought the weapon selection in the game was pretty fun to use actually, and honestly, most of the guns in this beta I found relative success with, whether it was the C9, the Jackal PDW, the XM4, AK-74, or the Ames 85. It felt as each of these guns had their own purpose to them. I could use a particular gun on one map and then switch over to the next map, change up my playstyle, and then use a different gun. And I really appreciate that about the Black Ops 6 beta, where I could have different playstyles with a bunch of different weapons. Although personally, I did find that the handguns were a little bit underpowered, but of course, this is a beta and some weapon balancing and weapon tuning will be applied when the game fully releases. I also like the change in the loadouts where you have a dedicated melee slot as well. That way you can have your primary and your secondary and then also have a melee weapon. I think that's kind of neat because you can incorporate all kinds of different playstyles into one create a class loadout. To wrap up the weapons, I thought that the gun selection itself was also pretty cool. You have a very interesting combination of experimental weapons from the time period and then some other weapons that we've all been used to from previous Call of Duty games. Overall, I thought the guns were fun to use and they all felt great to shoot. Now moving on to one of the selling points of Black Ops 6, that being the Omnimovement. The Omnimovement makes the movement itself in Black Ops 6 feel a lot more fluid. Although I personally didn't utilize dolphin diving to the left, right, or behind me very often, one thing that I found to be really useful is that you're able to sprint in all directions. Not only that, but when you're laying down on the ground, you have some pretty nice fluid supine movement, so no longer will you be prone blocked. I found that to be pretty useful if you're hunkered down on an objective or a hard point or something like that and enemies are attacking you from all sides. Using the Omnimovement in practice for my personal playstyle, I found that half of the movement was actually pretty useful and then the other half of the movement was kinda gimmicky. And of course, because you have this new movement system with all kinds of new things that you can do, all the tryhards and sweats are using the hell out of the Omnimovement. All the crazy movement that these tryhards and sweats use in Call of Duty is going to be amplified in Black Ops 6, which I'm not a big fan of. I think the whole tryhard movement thing is pretty stupid in my opinion. But moving on, let's talk about the maps. Out of the map pool in the beta, I would say Skyline was probably the best map. To me, it felt like a classic multiplayer map, and there are also some pretty creative features on the map itself. For example, in the basement of the map, there's this parkour section where you have to hop on an elevator, go into a vent, and then press a button to start a security lockdown. What this will do is block off a certain section of the map with bulletproof barriers. If you're playing a game mode like Hardpoint, and the hardpoint just so happens to be in that room, you can start the security lockdown and lock yourself down in that room. Or if you want to mess with your enemies and how they traverse the map, you can shut down that room so they have to go a particular way. I think it's a fun and clever way to interact with the environment on a multiplayer map. The next map I want to talk about is Babylon. It's pretty small for 6v6, but it's pretty fun too. This map reminds me of a larger shipment because it's pretty simple, but it's a bit bigger. That's one thing I definitely noticed about the Black Ops 6 multiplayer maps thus far. They've erred on the side of smaller maps as opposed to the larger maps we've seen in previous games. Moving on from Babylon, Scud was a decent map. It definitely wasn't the greatest map I've ever played, but it wasn't horrible either. In some ways, this map reminded me of Satellite from Black Ops Cold War multiplayer. Not just because of its appearance, but there are some open areas on this map where you can get sniped from across the map. Then you had Rewind, which honestly looks like a pretty cool map, but I thought it was just okay. There are some sections of the map that are better than others. For example, when you're in the stores and you have that close quarters combat aspect, I think those are the better parts of the map. Some of the longer range portions of the map were just okay in my opinion. Rewind definitely isn't a bad map, but I just thought it was okay. However, one map that I did not have fun playing at all in this beta was Derelict. Way too many places you could be shot from. I also found that the spawns on this map were pretty annoying. And just a side note about the spawns, I thought the spawns in this game were pretty inconsistent as well, not just on Derelict, but especially on Derelict. I felt like I was spawning in the same place over and over and over again instead of having map variety when you spawn in. It wasn't that fun. There were a lot of places the enemies can camp, and there's just way too many places you could be shot from, like I said earlier. The map flow didn't really work for me either. Needless to say, I thought Derelict was the worst map in the beta. Moving on to the face-off maps, which are even smaller maps, we have Gala and Pit. Gala I thought was the better of the two, and it sort of reminds me of Shipment like Babylon reminded me of Shipment. So in a way, for people who want that small map mosh pit hectic chaos for Black Ops 6, I can definitely see people playing Babylon and Gala. However, Pit is a different story. I didn't really like playing this map either. To put it bluntly, I thought Pit was kind of a clusterfuck. It's almost too close quarters, which I don't mind the small maps. I actually prefer smaller maps, but this one felt really claustrophobic. And I had the worst spawns on this map out of any of the other ones in the beta. So for most of my matches on Pit, I didn't really enjoy them as much as Gala. Face-Off returning is good because I frequented Face-Off in Black Ops Cold War multiplayer, but so far, I gotta say, I probably prefer Black Ops Cold War Face-Off thus far. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what kind of maps Treyarch adds to Face-Off in Black Ops 6 in the future. In addition, during the final day of the beta, Treyarch added Gunfight. Gunfight's one of my favorite multiplayer game modes, but unfortunately, I was only able to play a few games. The one Gunfight map that I thought was pretty interesting was Stakeout. Stakeout was a pretty fun map with unique features such as parkour outside the map on the balconies, and a very interesting layout. Gala was also in the Gunfight map rotation, and that played pretty well. But overall, I really don't have too much to say about Gunfight in Black Ops 6 right now because, like I said, I only played a few games. I wasn't able to play Gunfight as extensively as the other multiplayer game modes like Team Deathmatch or Kill Confirmed. One thing I did notice, however, when I was playing regular multiplayer and I earned some score streaks like the RCXD, they were kind of hard to control. It felt as if the turning radius on the RC car was wider than it should have been, but that's just my observation. As I was playing through the beta, however, I came across this really annoying glitch a handful of times. At some points, when I went to choose one of my custom loadouts, the game wouldn't select that loadout for me. It would select one of the default loadouts. So I would be stuck for the rest of the game using only default loadouts. So this is a pretty major problem, and I really hope it's fixed at launch. In addition, I don't know if I'm the only person that felt this way, but it seemed as if sometimes in some of the gunfights, I was just shooting marshmallows. It felt as if I wasn't doing as much damage to the enemies as they were doing to me. I'm not sure if it's a hit detection problem or it's some other kind of problem on the back end, but one thing's for sure, I really hope it's not a rigged gunfight system like it was proven to be back in Modern Warfare 2. If that's the case, it's gonna put a real damper on the multiplayer for me. But I just wanted to point that out because it was pretty jarring on some of the gunfights where the opponents were only putting 3 or 4 bullets into me and I had to unload a whole magazine into them to do any sort of substantial damage. I'm not sure if it's maybe because of SBMM or EOMM. I'm not entirely sure which system is responsible for that, but again, this is something I just wanted to point out. There was also this field upgrade that I got to use a few times during the beta called Sleeper Agent. When you use this field upgrade, you temporarily look like one of the enemies. The goal of this field upgrade is to infiltrate and get behind enemy lines so that they don't kill you and then you can turn around and kill them. It's a fun field upgrade, but I'm not sure how often I'll actually use it. The main reason why I'll probably not use it that often is because it takes a while to recharge. If it recharged quicker, then maybe I would use it more often. And you know, the game overall just sort of felt like Black Ops Cold War 2, which I don't think is a bad thing. Black Ops Cold War is one of my favorite Call of Duty games. So I really don't mind that the gameplay, the gunplay, the maps, things like that felt like a Black Ops Cold War map or a Black Ops Cold War gun. In conclusion, I am looking forward to playing Black Ops 6 when the game fully releases. Most of the maps in the beta were just okay, and the 2 maps that I enjoyed the most were Skyline and Babylon. The Omnimovement can be fun to utilize, but sometimes it just feels kind of gimmicky. Same thing with the human body shield. It's a neat feature, but it just seems to me as more of a gimmick than an actual feature people will use consistently in multiplayer. When it comes to Black Ops 6 as a whole though, I am looking forward to playing zombies more than multiplayer. You guys know me, the majority of my content on my channel is zombies related. So of course I'm gonna look forward to playing zombies, but I am also looking forward to playing multiplayer, playing some of the new maps that come with the game at launch, and seeing if my opinion changes overall on Black Ops 6 multiplayer. It was a fun beta overall, but it didn't reinvent the wheel. Although, like I said earlier, I am definitely not looking forward to all the tryhards and the sweats in this game compared to some of the other games in the past. That Omnimovement is going to be crazy. But what do you guys think about the Black Ops 6 beta? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. Anyways guys, that's it for this video and I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, leave a like and subscribe if you're a brand new viewer. And with that said, have a fantastic rest of your day or night depending on where you are in this crazy world, and I'll see you guys next time.